Everybody's toolbox looks different. You may need specific tools for your chronic pain, and someone else may need certain tools for theirs. But maybe you may uncover some strategy or insight or a different perspective that resonates with you today. So let's dive in. 5 ways to navigate the roller coaster of a chronic pain flare. Number 1 is breathe. We all are breathing. Absolutely. You're breathing. I'm breathing. But when a chronic pain flare strikes, the simple act of taking a deep breath can become an anchor to you. It can reduce the turbulence very, very quickly when we are having a flare. Breathing consciously involves more than just inhaling and exhaling like we're constantly doing. It's about breathing with intention and bringing awareness to the breath and the depth of that breath. We can find certain things to say as we're breathing as to distract ourselves from our pain flare. We can inhale positivity and exhale stress. That's not just a catchy phrase, but it's a way to actually tangibly influence the response that your body's having to your pain. So when we take some slow and deliberate breaths, it activates our parasympathetic nervous system, which counteract that fight or flight stress response. And that is so important when we're in a flare, because when we're in a flare, we're heightened. We feel everything more. The air on our skin bothers us. The light bothers us. The noise bothers us. Any extra stimulation bothers us. And that's that fight or flight response that happens to us when we're in that flare. And so if we can intentionally take a great big breath and calm that central nervous system down, we can help to reduce that pain flare that we're having. And so often we've got those shoulders up above our ears or around our ears. But with each inhalation, you can begin to calm your body down and begin to gain more clarity. You can release the tension that the pain is bringing you with the breath, with deepening that breath, with embracing the breath, even in a flare. So there's so much power to our breath. So take a moment right now with me and drop your shoulders away from your ears. Take in a big breath right down into your belly and slowly let it out and relax your jaw. Take a big breath in again, slowly let it out and relax that little space between your eyebrows. And take another big breath in all the way deep down into your belly and let it out. And as I go through the rest of this, intentionally notice where your breath is. Is it way up in your chest or is it staying way down in your belly? Because as we can keep that breath way down in the belly, we can help to reduce the pain signals that are going to our brain. So transitioning to number two way to help yourself when you're having a pain flare is listening to your body. You've heard me say this many times. So during times when your chronic pain is getting worse, when that flare is on its way, when you start to feel those oh so familiar pangs in your body is trying to send you a message. It's letting you know what it can handle and what it can't. It's trying to let you know what it needs in that moment. And so if you can take a step back, like Viktor Frankl, I've got his book right here, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl, amazing book. If you can take that step back and use that bait that you have when you take a step back instead of immediately going into that reaction that we have when we're triggered. And when we get a flare, we're immediately triggered. So taking that step and creating some space and start asking some questions. What does my body need? What have I been doing that has created this? What is something that I can do right now to possibly thwart it, to stop it in its tracks? And when you take that step back and when you get curious about why you're going into a flare, you may recognize or see something that you hadn't noticed or realized before. And these little moments are like wake-up calls for your body. They're saying, pay attention to me. Your body is beckoning you to tune in and honor its messages. It may be asking you to have a sleep. It may be asking you to feed it some good food. But imagine that your body is your friend and it's seeking attention. Imagine that you can grant that same compassion that you would a friend who is needing your help, where you just hop to it and rush in and help your friend. I have a friend who has Lyme disease and periodically has flares. And I was with her when the Lyme disease peeked its head out and kind of became really a chronic issue. And there were days on end where she was unable to get out of bed, days on end when it was difficult for her to have a shower, days on end where she couldn't even make herself a tea or make herself some breakfast. And I lived like 4 houses away from her. So at that time, she needed me to listen to her. She needed me to come in and take care of her. She needed me to come in and give her some compassion and nurturing and care. And if we can do that for our friends, we can also do that for ourselves. So your body is looking for some understanding. Your body is looking for you to listen to it. And your body requires sometimes that stillness to heal. So listen to the requests that your body is giving you. And that is such a profound act of love. So giving yourself the gift of listening, because your body knows best. It knows what it needs. And so create that connection between your body and your mind and the ability to listen. So the third technique that we can use when we're in a flare is mindful movement. And before you stop listening to this, bear with me and stick with me. I am not saying throw on a pair of running shoes and head to the gym. I am not saying the word exercise at all. I am saying mindful movement. By engaging in mindful movement during a chronic pain flare, it's like having a conversation with your body. It's an invitation to explore some movements that are within your comfort zone, exploring some ways to move to help to alleviate the pains that your body is having. So for me, when I have a flare, it's very often in the form of headache. I have a number of issues, but I get migraines a lot. Now I have learned how to kind of thwart them and stop them by doing these 5 techniques. In doing some mindful movement, I start with my neck. All I do is start to roll my head from side to side very slowly. And what happens is I find that spot that is holding a lot of tension and creating that blood flow that I need to go up into my brain. It's kind of causing a blockage. And so I move my neck and then I find that spot and I spend some time there. It's mindful movement. So it's not throwing on running shoes and going for a walk. That's not going to help your pain flare, but maybe doing a little bit of movement where you're listening to what your body is asking of you to move. Just slow, intentional movement. And so that's what I do. I spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes and you'll see me, if you know me, just moving my head like this, finding a spot, finding that place that's going to help to alleviate. And it does. It's magical. And if I ignore that little twinge that my body's telling me, and if I don't listen to that and do that mindful movement, I will get a full-blown migraine where I am in bed for an entire day. So focusing on the sensations that are in your own body and doing some soothing relief to it, practicing that encourages that your body and your mind become symbiotic, that you have a relationship with it. And then you're, like I was saying before, promoting blood circulation and aiding in muscle tension relief. There's so much to mindful movement. And if you're unsure of how to move because of a condition that you have, that is my jam. That is my specialty. I can help you figure out the specific movements that you need to do or can do when your body is talking to you. So that brings me to my next of my 5 tips on dealing with a pain flare. My next one is to reach out. So important. One of the worst parts about having chronic pain, besides the pain, of course, and besides the flares that we get, is when we encounter isolation. And it is an awful feeling to feel alone, to feel that people don't understand, to feel that we can't tell our significant others and our friends exactly how we're feeling. I saw a post today of someone saying, I finally had the courage when someone asked me how I was to tell them the truth, and they didn't respond back to me. So often we feel so alone and so isolated. And this is where the power of community and connection can become a beacon to us. It doesn't have to just be people that we know. It can be people who understand, though. And that's where our community, this beautiful community that we have, this Overcome Chronic Pain community, there is such power in community. And reaching out to your support network, your friends, of understanding family, or like I say, this community where we share experiences together. together and have compassion for each other. You can come on in a forum like this one and complain, and people understand where you're at. So I encourage you to reach out and find a supportive network that you can find to be able to just be yourself, to just throw it out there that you're having a pain flare. Other people may have ideas or technique that they've tried, or just a compassionate word, but know as well that I am here and I get it. I have those flares. I have had years and years of not being able to get off the couch because it would not let up. And this is what I do day in and day out now, is help people, help my clients through the system of overcoming chronic pain. I do this, one-on-one coaching. I do it through group coaching. I do it through this social media forum. I am a support for you, and I am a cheerleader for you, and I am here to serve and to hold space for you. So sometimes just merely sharing our journey with those who genuinely care can help to alleviate the weight of a flare. And please recognize that vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, but it's actually a sign of courage. And by reaching out, you're creating a space that reminds you that you're not by yourself. Your journey is so similar to the countless other people who are here, who understand and can empathize with you. And as I talk about empathy, the last and final tip that I have about overcoming a pain flare is to sink into self-compassion. Self-compassion isn't about just masking the pain with positivity, but it's about acknowledging that the pain that you're experiencing needs attention, and it needs some tenderness and understanding. And we, as a person who is dealing with a pain flare, needs to speak to ourselves with love and kindness without judgment. Judgment does not have a place when you have chronic pain, but practicing self-compassion is so, so important. And that's what it is. It's a practice, because we all are judgmental and we all have negative moments and we all have negative thoughts. But in the moment of these flares, it is so, so important to tell yourself that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, because your brain, in this heightened sense of fight or flight, your brain is constantly telling you that it's in danger. And if you can turn that narrative around and say, you're not in danger, you are in a temporary flare. The storm is going to pass and things are going to be okay. And give yourself a message of safety. So this is another amazing book, The Way Out by Alan Gordon. He is telling us to not push through, but to give ourselves some compassion and send ourselves a message of feeling safe. Telling ourselves, my brain thinks I'm in danger, but it's just a false alarm. And to just trust that your body is dealing with the flare the way it can. So speak to yourself with kindness. Remind yourself that you're doing the best you can with the constraint of your situation. Talk to yourself kindly. Say some nice things to your body. Don't tell it that you hate it or that it's against you. It's talking to you. And don't ignore it. Your body wants you to listen. So practice these 5 things. Pull them out of your toolbox when that flare shows up. Pull them out of that junk drawer that you're throwing everything in. Our chronic pain journey really is just a bunch of varied and different moments amidst flares, and you get to breathe and move and have compassion and connection with your body. And it's not easy. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But you have a community here, a network of support that understands and empathizes and stands beside you.